Hey guys, welcome to Reddit Brew. Today, I will be reading from the r/entitledpeople subreddit, so let's jump into it. My roommate from hell. For the first 2 years of university, I had the most horrible roommate of all time. I was living in a shared flat for the first time ever. I had just turned 18. I got into medicine in a city approximately 500 kilometers away from my hometown, approximately 2 weeks before the semester started. So everything had to happen rather quickly. I was lucky enough to find an affordable room. My roommates and I, 3 of us total, moved in at the same time, and the landlord chose all of us. So none of us knew each other beforehand. Cast: me, 18-year-old female, Chad, nice roommate, Jessica, demon spawn, aka not so nice roommate, 19-year-old female, born and raised in Germany, but Mongolian citizen, FWB, Jessica's friends with benefits, LL, landlord, lived above us. Like me, Chad started studying medicine and was actually a very pleasant roommate. We were happy to have each other during the first semester, as we both were very clueless and surrounded by overachievers and teachers' pets, which was very overwhelming at times. Jessica was supposed to study economics, but only did so on paper, so that her and her mother could continue to collect government benefits for students. However, her attendance was none of my business, and everything was fine for the first few weeks. We all settled in and made some new friends. Jessica quickly ended up in the wrong crowd. She randomly met FWB on the train home, and they became sex buddies. This would have been fine, but he also introduced her to his other friends, and more importantly, to drugs. From there on, everything went downhill. They would start using our flat as their main party/consumption venue, and mind you, they all seemed to have unlimited free time. Our flat was small, as the city we lived in is extremely expensive, but Jessica would cram 7 to 15 people, sometimes more, into her 16-metered square room, and the even smaller kitchen on a regular basis. Her friends with benefits basically moved in. Jessica even gave him keys to our flat without even telling Chad or me. We found out when he suddenly stood in the kitchen making himself pizza when she was out of town for several weeks, even after landlord banned him from the property for various reasons. Don't get me wrong, I like parties and I can be messy myself. I generally don't need much sleep, and it takes a lot to wake me up. I once slept through a fire alarm in the room next to mine, but it got so bad that it was almost impossible to sleep, study, or relax at home. Jessica knew no boundaries. When I had an exam at 8 a.m., she and her friends with benefits would wake me up at 4 a.m., high as kites to ask for something. That, or they would have a loud party. She kept me awake during several nights because she feared that she OD'd on something. I would come home to all my food eaten by her friends when all the supermarkets were closed. My plant pots were used as ashtrays and trash cans for chewing gum. I would find used tampons on the bathroom floor because she was too high or drunk to maintain basic hygiene. One of my necklaces was stolen. The people she brought home got worse and worse. I once told a guy to stop lighting coals for a water pipe on our electric stove because it would ruin the surface. He just told me to shut up. The surface of the stove was indeed ruined. I would basically avoid coming home. I stayed in the library until 12 p.m. and left in the morning. After a while, I got a boyfriend and just spent most of my nights at his place. The neighbors called the police several times. My landlord had a lot of patience, but after 1.5 years, he had enough, basically with him having shared custody of his 2 daughters. He gave Jessica a 3-month eviction notice. She complained to me, telling me how unfair this was, and asked me to convince him to let her stay. I obviously refused. Knowing that she had to move out, Jessica went on vacation to Morocco. Despite being born and raised in Germany, and her mother staying here in Germany for decades, both didn't have German citizenship, despite being eligible for it. Simply because they never applied for it. They both were Mongolian citizens, and Jessica had a permanent visa for Germany. I warned her that if something went south, the German diplomacy wouldn't be responsible for her, and that it would probably be a good idea to apply for citizenship before leaving the EU. Long story short, she did not apply for German citizenship and lost her visa, which doubled as her ID, whilst partying in Marrakesh, and was unable to fly back. The German diplomacy sent her to the Mongolian diplomacy to apply for a temporary visa for Germany, her home country. She didn't take photos of her ID before she lost it, so she had to apply for a new Mongolian ID to be able to apply for a new visa. It took weeks. In the meantime, her lease was long expired and she wasn't paying any rent. When she got back, it was around Christmas, so Chad and I were off to see our families. She trashed the flat. When I got home, there was trash everywhere. The smell was horrible. The kitchen floor and the kitchen table were burnt. The toilet was full of vomit. The entire floor was sticky. It took me 2 weeks to clean the flat. She still hadn't moved out all of her stuff, though we had to rent out the room again. So our landlord put all of her furniture in the front yard, under the roof, and covered everything with huge plastic sheets. I packed all of her other stuff into huge plastic bags and put them into the cellar. After several weeks, she came to pick up the rest of her stuff, and her friends just destroyed her very cheap furniture and left the pieces behind. She had the audacity to ask our landlord for 300 euros because her furniture was allegedly ruined by standing outside. It wasn't. Overall, she caused several hundred euros of damage, had the audacity to ask for money for her inconvenience, and made the first 2 years of university a living hell for Chad and I. Jeez Louise, or rather, great googly moogly. Poor OP. How useless was that landlord? I understand looking for a new tenant sucks, but the landlord should have protected OP and Chad more. That sounds like an awful living situation to be in, and the cops being called on several occasions would have been enough of a just cause to kick Jessica out. If I were OP, I would have complained to my landlord every damn day until he kicked Jessica's ass out. But I too was a sheepish, spineless 18-year-old once upon a time, so I get it. But, Jessica and her friends are the worst kind of people. Do drugs, party, sure. I don't care what anyone does in their free time. That is up to you. But when someone lacks human decency and respect for someone else's space, then it's a whole new level of entitlement and ass-hattery that shouldn't go unpunished. But anyways, that is all from me today. I hope you enjoyed that Entitled People story. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I truly appreciate when you do, and I will see you in the next Reddit story. Bye!